Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Arslan and today we will be solving a new lead code question that is divisor game. And just before starting to solve this question guys, do subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, press the bell icon button and bookmark the playlist so that you can get the updates from the channel. Let's read out the question. What is the question is asking from us, and we will be solving this question with the help of JavaScript. So now let's read out the question. The question says Alice and Bob take turns playing a game with Alice starting first. Initially, there is a number n on the chalkboard. On each player's turn, that player makes a move consisting of any choosing any x with 0 less than x, x less than n, and n mod x is equals to 0, replacing the number n on the chalkboard with n minus x. Also, if the player cannot make a move, they lose the game. Return true if if and only if Alice wins the game, assuming both players play optimally. So what we have to do here, let's I will just explain it to you that what is the game is, and you can just see that there are some examples here which says that n is equals to 2, which is returning true. Alice chooses 1 and Bob have no more move. And what is the game here is, let's understand the game and then we can just understand the solution with this. So uh, let's see what is the game. So what is the game? There is a chalkboard and the player has to play a game, and while Alice has to start from, so Alice has the first turn. All right, and then choosing any x means that any x, and you can choose, let's say we have a value n is equals to 5. Let's say it's a 4. All right, and then what will be happen, in this 4, there's this number is on the chalkboard and each player has to make a turn. Alice has to start from first. She has the first turn, so she will be choosing any number which will be ranging from x less than n, x sorry 0 less than x less than n. So which means she can choose any value which will be less than n. So if she can choose, what she can choose, if n is equals to 4, she can choose 1, 2 and 3. But she cannot choose a value. See, she cannot choose a value which is not the factor of n. So she cannot choose 3. So she has to also make sure that she cannot choose a value which is not the factor of n. So if it's 3 and 3 is not, and 3, let me just write it here, that 3 is 3 is not a factor of n, that is 4, so it will be removed. All right, so it will be like these numbers. So she can make a turn with 1 or 2. All right, let's say if she chooses a value as, let's say, a 1, she chooses 1. So what will be left here is, if she chooses 1, so let's say Alice chooses 1 here. All right, so if she chooses 1, what will happen here is, if she chooses 1, then then what will happen, it's the condition here is replacing the number on the chalkboard with n minus x. So now x is equals to what? X is equals to 1. If Alice chooses x is equals to 1, x is what? X is the turn, what number you are choosing. So she chooses x is equals to 1, then what will happen, the number on the chalkboard which will be displayed will be it will be n minus x, right? So n minus x, it will be 4 minus 1. Alright, so it will be 4 minus 1, which will be equal to 3. Now again, the game will be played, and now it's Bob's turn. Bob's turn it will be. Now let's say Bob chooses. Let's say now Bob's, what will be option for Bob? Bob will be having the option as 1 and 1 and 1, 2 and 3, right? He will be having 1, 2 and 3 as the option. Sorry, it will be not 3, will be excluded because it is less than the nth value. So now n is equals to what? N is equals to 3 right now, and so he will be having only 2 options to choose. So he cannot choose. Why? Because 2 will be removed also, because 2 will 2 will be removed because 2 is not a factor of 3. So now what Bob will be having? Bob will choose. Bob has to choose 1 only, right? Because 2 will be removed, and it will be only 1 left. So so what will happen? The Bob has to choose 1. So now what will happen? N will be is equals to 2, because it will be n minus x, and n will be equal to, now n will be equal to what? N will be equal to 2. Now again Alice will choose. Alice will have to choose what Alice will be having to, will have to choose between 0 less than x less than n. So now she has to choose between x. So now x could be any value. So now n is equals to 2. X could be any values, which will be ranging from let's understand this, that it will be 1 only. All right, because 0, 1, 2. So now Alice has to choose 1. Alice has to choose 1, and now Bob will have no more moves left. Why? Because n minus x, because n minus x should be the number which will be displayed on the screen. So n minus x will be equal to 2 minus 1, which will is equals to 1. But we know that then, but when one number is displayed on the screen, that is the loss of the player. So if it is 1, if 1 is displayed on the screen, which means that the player has lost the game. So what I mean here is that if, let's say, if it's 1 is displayed on the screen, what will happen? Bob's turn will be there. Bob's turn will be there, right? Will be there. Now what will happen if it's the Bob turn, and now n is equals to 1, and what will happen here is Bob's turn, and then n is equals to 1, and the range will be 0 is less than x less than n, and we know that n is equals to 1, so it will be n. So now what is there? X is the value between 0 and 1, which will be no value, right? Because we are dealing with integers. So what will happen? Bob will lose. Bob will lose. So now I hope you have understood this question. So what will happen here is that now Bob will lose the game, right? Why? Because see, 1 will be displayed on the screen and Bob will lose the game, and this is what the game is all about. So let's say how we will be doing this question, how we will be approaching this question. So there is a simple mathematical trick, and what I figured out this here is that if you say that return n mod n mod 2 is equals to 0, which means that all of the even numbers are if what we have to return if Alice wins the game. So all the values which are even numbers, and that is the value of n, which is the starting value of n. Let's say it's 16, 18, 20. All of these numbers will be giving us the value as the winning number for Alice. That is what I have figured it out. So now we will be discussing this too, that how even numbers will make her win. Now let's understand that how she will be winning. We have understood the game, and I have taken n is equals to 4 as an example. That was also making the Alice win. Now we will be taking some another example. Let's say if we take 8 as the number. So let's say we have 8, or let's say let's take take a smaller number, so that we do not have to repeat the thing again and again. So let's say n is equals to 6 here. What we will be doing, first of all, n is equals to 6, so Alice has to choose between 1, 2, 3 and 6, right? But 6 will be not included because 6 n is excluded from the n is excluded, right? So we'll be not taking the number itself as a factor. Now she has to choose between 1, 2 and 3. If she chooses, let's say for example, if she choose 3, so let's say Alice chooses 3, right? If she chooses 3, what will happen? It will be 6 minus 3. So, and now n is equals to 3. Bob has to n is equals to 3, and now Bob has to choose between what, between 1 and 3. And we have already studied it above, that when n is equals to 3 and it's Bob's turn here, what will be coming up here is the same thing which we have studied before. See, it's the same thing which will be coming up here, because now 1 and 3 are the factors, and so the same thing will be happening, that it will be n minus 2. Bob has to choose 1 as the factor, and 2 will be removed, and 2 minus 1 will be 1, and then Bob has to choose 1 only, and then when n is equals to 2, Alice can only choose 1, and then what will happen, the 1 will be left, and we cannot choose 1 because if 1 is displayed on the player board, chalkboard in fact, so Bob will be losing. If you can take more example, you can try more examples. Let's say if you try 8, you will be seeing the same as I have shown it to you. So this was the let's just write it here, that this was the coding understanding part, and this above part was the gaming understanding part. Gaming understanding part. Now let's run the code and see what we have got. So let's try and run the code, and you can see on the screen, let's wait, and you can see that we can run both the test cases successfully. Successfully, that when n is equals to 3, what we are getting false as the value. Why? Because we cannot win. Let's take an odd value. And understand it. Let's say if we have 5 as the value, let's say n is equals to 5 initially, so Alice has to choose between 1 and 5. So now Alice has to choose between 1 and 5, but 5 will be excluded, so she has to choose 1, right? So she has to choose 1. Then what? 1 will be left, so what will be happening? 5 minus 1 will be 4. 4 will be 4 will there, so Bob's turn, and he has to choose between what, 1, 2 and 4. This will be factor of 4, and now he has to choose between 1, 2 and 4. Let's say he chooses, but 4 will be excluded because 4 the number itself is not the factor, so he has to choose between 1 and 2. So let's say he choose 2, and what will be left, uh, 4 minus 2 will be left for Alice. So what will be she will be choosing, she will be choosing 1 or 2, right? 1 or 2, but she cannot choose the number itself, so she has to only choose 1. So this is how the things will be happening here, and ultimately she will be losing the game. So let's say when n is equals to 8, and run the code and try. uh, yeah, see, even for 8 it is running successfully and showing us the value which we have discussed, right? Now let's try for another values as well. Let's add some test cases here. Let's say n is equals to, take some greater value, let's say it's 100 here, and let's try and run the code. See, it is running successfully and showing a green signal for our 100 value as well, right? All right, so I hope you have understood this question. We can add more test cases if you want to. We can try for more add test cases here. If we try, let's say, a value, an odd value here, and put, let's say if we put an odd value, let's say 17, if we put a random odd value and try to run the code, it should be giving me a false value with a green signal. Let's see, yeah, see, it is giving me a false value. So this shows that our logic here works, and this will be applied here. You have to understand the question first, and this is was all in the question, guys. I hope you have understood this question, and if you do so, please comment down in the comment section that you have understood the question. Thank you guys for watching this video, and see you next time.